Hey guys, this is Small Caps Trading Podcast of May 19th. Anything we say on this video is not a financial advice. Uh, so we went over the first part of the theme, the GMEs, plugs, and all that stuff, and now we're going to the second part of FFIE and pennies. If you haven't watched the GME video, please go watch that one first because we do gonna lean on a lot on what we said. We're just gonna put on top on this video. But yeah, well, you wanna take over?
Thank you. So we had a really unique week where we had two themes, a theme in the beginning of the week, the larger caps, and a theme at the end of the week, which was the absolute lowest pennies. And because, you sort of trade a theme the same way, regardless of the theme, then it's going to be the same thing as we look at the pennies. And so you really should look at the last videos, but the last video. But that being said, let me go ahead and share my screen and let's get back right into it. So as we discussed AMC GME, it pulled a bunch of sympathies with it. We discussed how to take advantage of that on the long side, then how to take advantage of that on the short side. Focusing on the short side for a moment, I'm not a fan of shorting the main runner. I much prefer shorting the sympathies. And when you do short the sympathies, what you're looking for is the heaviest boat that ran the highest percentage-wise. It's really as simple as that. And so, we know that we got FFIE, right? And FFIE pulled all those other names with it, and so many names, right? But looking at, actually, I'm so sorry. I have to. Before I go back to the successful shorts, I lost money on this, and so I want to focus. Well, I lost money on.
We lost money at the same spots. I lost money too.
Yeah, it's because you learned how to trade from me. So you had the same losing trade as me.
And we weren't really talking real time on that time. It wasn't like we took it together or anything. It just, I thought you might short it there because in my mind I trade with Moshe even though I'm not trading it in real time. I'm like, does this make sense? I think if I ask him, he will probably short it. That does make sense here. It was one of those moments.
We talk so much, man. We have a good idea. You have a good idea of my trade. Yeah. So I want to show. Let's show. So normally I like to short the sympathies, and I don't like to short the mains. But I have to admit that I messed up on Thursday, because FFIE was running since sort of earlier in the week, but like Wednesday sort of got really crazy on FFIE, and then Thursday really crazy, right? Let's just show what we're talking about here. So this is Tuesday, this is Wednesday, this is Thursday, right? So normally I like to trade the short side, the sympathies, and not the main, but I thought to myself, damn, from 5 cents, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, all right, yeah, maybe I will short this, and the main and CRKN as well. And so because of the sort of, like, I thought the trade had already developed enough so that we can perhaps get ourselves either a first red day or something, then I sort of did what I don't normally think is a good idea to do, and I tried to short both FFIE on this day and CRKN on the very same day, this day right here. So let's real quick just show what that looks like. The losers on Thursday. So CRKN is so here's the day next to it. So CRKN is, I tried it here, and I was thinking, this is absolute front side. Like we were asking me in the last video about plug, front side, back side. This is front side. There is no excuse. This is front side. I'm front side, and I'm leaning on a parabolic that is doing insane volumes. It was a dumb idea. Where you want to be short was, let's say, here or here, right? If you do decide to short this for whatever reason, which I did, right? Because look at it in real time for a second. So This was the push to like 20. So let's look at this in real time. It would be this day right here, right? So it'd be right here, right? So I was getting short here. Look at it like this, right? So I'm getting short right here, where, you know, if you do want to get short, you probably want to get short here or here, where there's, you know, there's a level to your left that you can look at and say, okay, you know. But no, I got short here and here, and then I got short right here, I believe, right? Right there. And so as soon as it sort of went over, I think my cover was a little bit late, right? You see, it's like right here, which is like right here, because when it did this action here, like if we draw a line, you know, this would have not been enough to push me out, you know, because if I'm risking versus this, I'm not going to get stopped right here. It's just never how I do it. Like, so when it did this, and then it did sort of this, you know, whatever, doji or whatever this is called, I don't know. Then I was like, okay, maybe I'm safe. Maybe it's just a quick little clear out of shorts and then back down. So that's why I'm not covered here, but I am covered here when it becomes absolutely clear. There's no question about it. And then the same trade is the same exact trade, right? Just over here, right? So again, we would just, you know, sort of put that line over here, and, you know, you can see that same trade. And so I tried it both times. Second time much larger, so it hurt so much more. When I stopped out here. And so that was the cracking trade, the losing trade. And then FFIE, it's even uglier, because if you look at the cracking trade, you're like, okay, man, that's a really solid, you know, like, I don't know why you wouldn't want to get short here, but if you did want to get short here, you know, this is decent. It's real decent. Like, no worries, man. You know what I mean? For a short, that's all right. But FFIE, first of all, I have to explain this, okay? So I accidentally, I like on FFIE, I accidentally got short. So let's indeed pull it out and see. So we're talking about this day here, right? And the thing is that and so, you know, my shorts are sort of over here and cover here, so it's my shorts are here and cover here, right? This is sort of, that's this area over here. I was like, mercy, mercy, no more, please, and thank God. But you see that sort of cover over here. That's just an accident. Not that I really mean to do, like, not at all. Like, I was like at 8. I was just looking at this thing at like this is 8 p.m. right here. This is 8 p.m. So towards, you see 7:45, 8 p.m. right here, right? So I was looking at this, and it was trading pre-market right next to the highs over here, and then it did this, and then it's sort of, and I don't know, the degenerate that I am, I said, okay, let me lean right here. This is where I lean, right? I got like high 8s, and I thought it was like, I didn't realize it was like 7:55 p.m. I thought I had like 2 hours, you know, like on these days, they're so crazy that you lose track of time. An hour feels like a month, or, you know what I mean? So I just, completely lost track of time, and I got short here thinking I'll have like an hour or two to like maybe cover here. And this thing happened so fast, I didn't even see it. And then market closed, and I was like, wait, I'm swinging? Market is closed? Oh my God. So that's really what you're seeing here. And I just, like, I had no plans of swinging this, so I covered it immediately at you know, the first second of 4 a.m. And it wasn't a gain, but that's really not, no. So anyway, that's what that is. So you sort of see the same trades on FFIE as you see on CRKN, which is, you know, sort of a guess. You know, is this top of this range? Is this the top? And I start trading versus it, and as soon as I realize that it's not, I'm out. So that's the losing trades, right? And that's going back to, you know, why do I trade why do I short sympathies and not the mains? Because the mains can be so crowded that they can do really, really crazy things. Like Kraken went from like, single cents to 50s in one day. Even FFIE didn't do that. This is the day it traded 3 billion shares, which is not shown here because it's just too much for that to show, I guess. And so those are the losing trades. This is why I don't normally trade the mains. I trade the sympathies short side. I did try it on this day today because, as I said, I thought, okay, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, maybe now is the day. Any questions?
CRKN. If you zoom in, I thought we did trade similar. Yeah, like to me. So I didn't touch FFIE because I didn't think I was like, I'm like, I don't want to be involved with it. But CRKN, it did parabolic, and I traded as it. This was parabolic. It's a sympathy. It shouldn't be here. It did that volume blow off. I scale into the pop.
Let me just pause. You never got short here. I got short here.
I got short there too.
Here. Oh, you got short here too?
Yeah, in the bounce.
Okay, so you are talking.
I didn't do front side though. I got scaled. And you see that bounce, the go right a little bit. Yeah, right there. Oh, no, you did too much.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
sorry. Right. So you scaled like, let's say here or something.
Yeah, my average was around there.
Makes sense.
When I trade parabolic, when we get that volume exhaustion, I know you usually don't put stop right at the highs because of that. You never want to be in the liquidity spots, and I do that too on a lot of things. But when we do a parabolic on exhaustion, I thought that shouldn't even go that high anymore. So my stop is always at 1 cent high. I'm out. I don't even wait. Like maybe that was that I was surprised. I was gonna ask, like, you do that in parabolic too? You wait still? Because I'm so scared. Like if it goes high again, it might just like I'm scared at that.
It's case by case, brother.
So do you think in this case that was fine? I guess it was fine.
When you say it was fine, you mean letting the stop be a little bit higher than the parabolic high?
Correct.
Sure, I don't think of it too heavily one way or the other. It doesn't. The difference is a cent or two. The difference is another, like, you know what I mean? It's not. It doesn't. I don't get caught up on these particulars.
Okay.
I don't like to be in the liquidity spot, period. And so, what I try to do is either stop out before the liquidity spot, like I did on plug, right? On plug, I was right on plug. I was anticipating it, and so I either get short. Sorry for the noise. My daughter's playing magnet tiles. It is what it is. But my covers are either below the liquidity spots or above the liquidity spots. Never right there. And I don't really have a very developed.
I mean, I wasn't seeking huge. I guess I was just wanted to bring it up to see what you think. But I know it's not the biggest.
Sometimes you find nuances. I don't have a nuance here.
Yeah, cool. And CRKN, you went bigger. I think that was the right thing. Even though it didn't work out, I should have done that too. I did same size, and if it did work out, I was gonna punt myself because when it does that, in my mind, real time, I'm thinking, okay, this is a sympathy. It shouldn't even done that. But since it did that, you did go bigger, right? That you should, right? That was your thought because it shouldn't. It already shouldn't be there.
I mean, again, I didn't have that level of analysis. I just thought, okay, I think it ran really, really, really a lot. So I'm just going to short it here versus the highs. So on days on like plug when I had a really developed thesis, then I was, I did really well on Kraken. I sort of missed a little bit of those nuances that you pointed out, such as a sympathy shouldn't be doing this, parabolic shouldn't go back to the liquidity spots, etc. I just traded the action and I got clipped. I don't know if I'd thought about those nuances or not, if anything would have changed. I look at this stop out and I'm happy with it. I wish I would have traded it. I wish I would have been long, but all in all, whatever. It was a trade,
Yeah, I think that's another very good point. You do tell me that a lot. Like, yeah, it was a trade, whatever. That's so powerful. I want to just point that out. I might do a video on it later. Like, huge trade in a moment, sure. But after the trade, just whatever, yeah, sure. It was a trade, whatever. And that really helps. That helped me. You kind of taught me that, like, so I don't carry that to next day, like next week, whatever.
Mm.
Yeah, sure.
I don't celebrate gains. I don't mourn losses. It's
Yeah, yeah.
just the job. I went back to this Excel sheet and I did the smart thing, the same thing that I did on Tuesday with AMC and GME, which was okay. I said, okay, well, all of these are 5-cent stocks that are running, right? But they don't all have the same float in market cap. And that's what I understand that the people that are trading this, most of the people trading this long, they don't understand. They don't look at those dynamics. And so, as you know, Friday morning I woke up after taking the loss on Thursday, shook it off, didn't care, said today we're going big, but today we're going big smart, because I got clipped yesterday because the main ones have so much volatility in them that even if you have a good entry and you stop out at your stop out, it still hurts.
Yeah.
And so on Friday I said no. I'm going the other way from Thursday. I'm going back to how I traded on Tuesday, how I traded the sympathies to AMC and GME. On Friday, I'm doing that. And the thing is that on Friday, there were so many 5-cent stocks that were trading at, 15, 20, 25, 30 cents that it was really just take your pick. And here's where I want to focus on the picks that I made and why. And they are a little bit different. There are some nuances there that I think might be interesting. So, if you're tracking this, if you're tracking it either through this sheet or just, you tracking the action, you're living it, how many 5-cent stocks we're trading at really, really high levels. And so the first thing I'm doing is I'm looking for three things. I'm looking for all of the 5-cent stocks that are running substantially, and I'm looking at their floats, their market caps, and the volume that they traded previously, meaning yesterday and the day before that if it ran. And what I'm looking for is highest float, highest market cap, lowest volume traded. Why? Because you take CRKN as an example, it traded so much volume that it doesn't matter what the market cap is. It doesn't matter what the float is. It traded 3 billion shares. It's just a trading vehicle at that moment. Nothing matters, right? Like the float on CRKN is like 51 million. It traded 3 billion shares on Thursday. It flipped its float like, what is that even, 60 times or something?
Yeah.
Like it flipped the float 60 times. Market cap, none of that matters in that moment. It will matter later when all the volume comes out of it. But at that moment, it doesn't matter, right? But if we take a look, and this was, as I spoke Friday morning in the pre-market, I made that plan super duper clear to everybody. I said, look at SLNA, 350 million float. SLNA is 350 million float, right? Versus you take a look at the other ones, right? FFIE is 42 million float. CRKN is 51 million float. Peggy is I don't know, but basically you had the ones that were sort of having the 40-50 million floats, and then you had 3 levels of floats on all these 5-cent stocks. You had the 40-50 millions, the 100 million, and then all alone you had SLNA at 358 million. They were really at the 40-50 million or 100 million, and then SLNA is at 358 million. So you would have had to have seen that as an anomaly if you're paying attention.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And not only was that a large anomaly in that way, but also if you look at the volume traded, sure, it traded a lot of volume, right? But the float is 358 million. On its absolute highest volume day, it didn't even flip the float twice. Not even twice. Take that, compare that to the 60 times that CRKN flipped its float in a single day. What it means is that it's not quite a trading vehicle just yet. It's still, there's still the original shareholders are there. Everything, the structure, the price mechanic structure is still intact. It's just trading a lot of volume, so it's going to be pushed, but not to the point where price mechanics are broken on it and it doesn't do a reversion to the mean like it should, right? And so for me, I see, okay, huge float, came from the 4 cents, never really flipped the float much. So for me, that is number one on my, and I made that clear in the pre-market, right? I said, this is it. This and whatever else is closest to this, right? And so that's the reason why. And the other ones that were closest to it, were going to be Peggy with a 220 million, with a 95 million float, excuse me. Peggy with a 95 million float, GWAB with an 85 million float, and BRSH with a 100 million float, right? So those were the next biggest floats under SLNA. Now, so they're all basically 100 million, right? Peggy is 95 million, GWAB is 85, BRSH is 100, call it 100 on all three of them, right? So now you zoom in. SLNA, no brainer. Biggest float by far, which makes it the heaviest boat by far. Never flipped the float even twice. So, you're not really worried about swipes or bent shorts or halts or any of that stuff, right? It's a heavy boat and it's trading that way. So that's a no-brainer. But you go to Peggy, right? Peggy, 100 million float. We said they're all more or less 100 million float. Again, we see sort of a similar dynamics where it came from the 5 cents, triple, quadruple. It traded 400. Now, this did flip the float a few times on Thursday, but it traded 470 million. It's 100 million floater. Cool. It flipped the floats 4 times. Impressive. But you have to remember, in the larger landscape, there's so many of these names out there. And I remember I was trying to explain my thesis to you in the morning. We were talking about this. You're like, well, yeah, but you don't know that FFIE might still go and CRKN might still go. And you were right. They did keep pushing on Friday. But my answer at the time, in real time, in pre-market, was, no, I get that. That's what I'm counting on. I'm counting on the fact that we have so many different names that have gone so far from 4 cents that even if FFIE does go, it's not going to be able to pull with it all of these to the moon. And so that was the what I had said and what the thesis was. And so I said, even if it does go, that's great. I have me a vehicle at SLNA that is huge, 360 million float. Didn't it never flip the float? It's not there. The power is not there. So that's very appealing for me as a short, right? And Peggy, same thing, 100 million floater that never flipped the float much. GWAV and BRSH are a little bit different, and I want to show how they are different. So you see how I look at things, right? So all of these are 100 million floaters. So the largest floaters outside of SLNA, but GWAV traded a lot of volume. So GWAV is a 100 million floater over under, but it traded almost 2 billion shares the day before. So I was more scared of GWAV because it floated, it did flip the float like 20 times the day before. That's trading vehicle territory. You don't know who's bent over there and if this does swipe and halt or doesn't swipe and halt, you know what I mean? So I had a little bit less conviction. But nevertheless, it did still make it onto the list. And last and more different than all the rest of them was BRSH, and BRSH also, again, 100 million float, right? What's the market cap on this? So check it out. Not only was it 100 million float, but where all of these guys started when they started running, their market cap was 2 million, 3 million, 4 million. BRSH started with a market cap of 7 million. And you can say to yourself, well, what difference does it make? Not a lot, fair enough, but it does make a difference. Because when something starts at 2 or 3 million, by the time they make it to 7 million in market cap, they have already had to double once or twice, right? Yeah. They can go further. BRSH at 7 million, it hasn't moved yet. At 14 million, it's only a double. Versus at 14 million market cap, the other guys, they're already at a, times 3, times 4, times 5, times 7. You know what I mean? So that means something to me. So what does it mean? So it has 100 million float. It's certainly up there as one of the heaviest floaters of all the runners. And it didn't trade nothing the day before. Like it traded 179 million. One of the lowest volumes traded of all of the 4 million, of all of the 4 cent and above runners. So it doesn't, what this tells me is this is long crowded and not short crowded. That's what it tells me. And so it does this. So I got 100 million floater that, doesn't have shorts loaded into it. And already I have so many of these runners, and I think that they're all going to be pulled down on Friday. So this and SLNA were top on my list. SLNA because it was by far the biggest float, and it didn't flip the float much the day before. And BRSH because it's the next biggest float with the least volume traded the day before. So this is more of just like sort of the last one to run, the last sympathy. So and it is one of the last sympathies to join this thing. So it's more of just like, it's long crowd. And so that's the idea. And let's see which trades I have the screenshots to. FFIE, it's the loser. So SLNA. And you remember I said in the last video, I said whenever you're trading something short or long, you want to have a really clear idea in your mind of what you think this is going to do. Where's your exits? Are you long for like one leg up to this price or that price? Are you long all day because you think it's going to blow out? Are you short just for one leg down to VWAP or below? Or are you short because you think this is going to dump all day? You know what I mean? You have to have these ideas developed in your mind. And on SLNA being Friday, you know how I feel about Fridays. I think Fridays are most usually fader days. From I think morning, pre-market morning strong, late morning, rest of the day weak, just typically speaking Friday in general on Momo stuff. And you add that together with everything I said about the float and the volume and all that stuff. And, so what I was really looking for is on Thursday, I traded the high volatility names and I lost money on that. So I was looking on Friday, I was looking for stuff that has the least amount of volatility because I just don't want to fight anything short on Friday after Thursday. So I'm looking for the stuff that has potentially will have the least amount of volatility and has the highest amount of supply, so it might potentially be the heaviest. And I was going for an all-day fade. I was looking for like first red day style fade. And so, SLNA, we can, we already said, look, it's a much larger float, right? It never flipped the float much. So if you drew the lines, this is where you would draw the lines, right? And as you draw these lines, right? These shorts sort of, should make a little bit of sense to you. But again, we're not talking about price action here because price action didn't really dictate this. We're talking about, again, the Excel sheet. The Excel sheet is what dictates this. So now on SLNA, I have the screenshot of the trades. It's here. On Peggy, I have the screenshots of the trades. It's here. On BRSH, I never took a screenshot end of day, so I only have this. But you get the idea. And on GWAP, I don't have the screenshots at all, but I just put it in here. It's going to be the same trades as Peggy and SLNA. They're all going to be like, right there. So that's it in a nutshell. the whole how I looked at FFIE, CRKN saga. I took the losses on Thursday. I made them back and then some on Friday, and theme, sympathy, all that stuff. That's all. That's everything I could think of.
Yeah, I mean, this is. I think you nailed the explanation of Excel sheet and what the next day is going to look like, and also that's another example where you just want to be short the vehicle and not really put too much meaning on a price action. You just short.
Sort of, yeah.
You just short, like, because I'm thinking in my mind, like, why are you short BRSH on this spot? And then I answered myself in my brain, like, it's not all spot or anything. Like, okay, short some levels, you just want to get short, and whatever, just.
Right, and I had that conversation with Mo. Again, shout out to Mo, my man, getting so many shout outs. But he was looking at GWAV over here in the after hours, and he was saying, "Oh, I think it's going to go." I could pull up those conversations as well. And not GWAV, BRSH. I'm so sorry. He was looking at, so BRSH was the look. Remember the looking lefts, right? Remember the looking lefts.
Yeah.
We always do this. We always do this. This is just part of the thing. So you got 30s and 50s, right? And here in the after hours of because this is after hours day before, this is pre-market, this is after hours Thursday, this is pre-market Friday, right? So you can see it's like trying 30, trying 30, trying 30, trying 30, trying 30, right? And Mo was talking about, oh, this looks like it's part of the theme. This is gonna go, and he's 100% right. This is part of the theme. That does look like it's gonna go, but if you pull up, it's like the conversations on it. You would see. Let me pull it up real quick. So Mo goes BRSH, watch this to build over 20s, and he's right. He's basically saying this is part of the theme. This is what the theme does. As long as it conforms to the theme, this is the long, right? And he's correct, 100% correct. And I say, look, BRSH to me looks like low volume liquidity chasers. Maybe can go to 50s because why not? Because at that point the action is just so crazy. Like anything could do anything, right? But maybe you can go to 50s, why not? But I'd bet against it if it went 3s or 5s, right? What was I talking about? I was talking about 3s and 5s. That's what I'm talking about, these looking lefts. And what I'm talking about, because low volume chasers, what low volume? This did 170 million the day before. But low volume is relative. Low volume is relative to the float and what everything else was doing. So while everything else was flipping float, this had one of the heaviest floats, and it flipped the least amount of times the float. So by low liquidity chasers, that's really what I meant. This is just long chasing. We already got a looking left here at 30. The next one is at 50. Yeah, it could go because in those environments, nothing makes sense. You're like, I guess it can go because why not? But this is a high float, low float flipper late in the theme, with the looking left at 3 or 5. You know what I mean? So yeah, I would take that bet. I did take that bet, actually.
BRSH at 3 to 5, but it didn't. Oh, it did. Yeah, 3 to 5, sure.
Pre-market, right? You don't see it on the daily, but my trade wasn't in the daily.
And you were sized below 3.
Yeah, I mean, it just kept on trying 29s and couldn't. So. And I spread my risk around because I had Peggy, SLNA, GWAV, this, you know what I mean? So it's, look, you take, if this was gonna hit, look, I don't really know. I want to say that I would have gotten out right over the 29s. I don't know.
I feel like these are one of those trades you start with conviction, and if it start going against you and base, you got out. This is it looks like one of those because
plugs. But
yeah,
look, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm just guessing.
Right. Anyway, so that's so this is in a nutshell. It's you could see that the whole FFIE and all of it was to me the same as AMCN and GME and all of those. It's except on FFIE and on the pennies, I did make the mistake of trying to trade the mains
Yeah.
while they were strong, and that's my bad, but
Yeah.
whatever. Same thing as GME and AMC. I looked for the biggest float sympathies, and I traded those. Any
Yeah.
questions? Any thoughts?
Yeah. Last question, because we did have a time limit for this one. So one about, you said today was first red day setups, right? And we do have a first red day.
They ended up being first red day setups. Yeah.
Yeah, and we do have a first red day video for the people who want to understand what I'm about to ask right now. You guys can go back and watch that. So, first red day, you say you want super high volume the day before,
Right.
but at the same time you wanted less volume on this one or the similar ones. You didn't want a lot of volume, but you did trade it as first red day. So I got confused a little bit. Like, this is because of the context, right?
I didn't trade this as first red day. What
Okay.
Molly, to the people listening, what Molly is referring to is that on Friday morning, as all of us in the Discord are gathering and trying to figure out what day is ahead of us, we're throwing out ideas. What kind of day is this? Today, the day after a black swan, because there's days that they have a particular dynamic and you can just trade the day. You don't even have to trade any particular stocks. Like you trade the stocks running, but you trade it based on how this particular day usually goes, right? And so on Friday, as we were waking up, we're trying to figure out what kind of day is this? What kind of dynamics can we expect? And nobody guessed first red day, myself included. I didn't guess first red day. Mm-hmm. But at the end, when you take a look at the action, this is first red day action, right?
Yeah.
This is first red day action. And if you look at all the penny stocks, this is what you would see. You would see first red day on all of them. So today, in the morning when me and you were talking, I told you, hey, remember when we're trying to figure out what kind of day it's going to be? Turns out it was a first red day. But that's me saying it after the fact. In the morning, what I said was, I have no idea. This is too crazy. This is my plan. This is what I'm going for these really high floaters that I think are going to keep me safe. They're not going to go too crazy, So that's really.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, my brother. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, it was a very good one. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, guys.